Ladies and gentlemen, her. I've been meaning to return to YouTube for a long time, but the truth is I have been living, and boy oh boy, living must we do. Wow, it feels amazing to finally feel like I'm coming into myself. If I cared about being liked, then I probably would not be making this video. So the fact that you're watching this video right now can only mean one thing. This video is about why I don't see anything wrong in what Molly Mae said. She is an influencer in the UK who rose to prominence after appearing on a reality television series called Love Island a couple of years ago. She is 22 years old and she has appeared on a podcast about success which was created by Bartlett. Lots of people are unhappy about her comments because she shared what she considered to be tips for success.
You know how social media loves to behave. Social media loves a good crop. They love a good trim. They love a good snippet.
So I saw what was a 45-second snippet of a 2-hour-long podcast. So I decided I'm gonna go watch the 2-hour-long podcast, because that is how you make sense of what's going on. So yesterday I watched this podcast and I was so inspired, and it confirmed my sentiments when I first saw the snippet of the podcast. I never saw anything wrong in what she said. And when I watched the full thing, I still did not see anything wrong in what she said.
That we do. And I just think like you're given one life and it's down to you what you do with it. Like you can literally go in any direction. And when I've spoken about that before in the past, I have been slammed a little bit with people saying, you know, like it's easy for you to say that, you know, you've grown up and you've not grown up in poverty. You've not grown up, you know, with major money struggles. So for you to sit there and say that we all have the same 24 hours in a day is not correct. And I'm like, but technically what I'm saying is correct. We do. So I understand that obviously we all have different backgrounds and we're all raised in different ways and we do have different financial situations. But I think if you want something enough, you can achieve it. And it just depends to what lengths you want to go to get where you want to be in the future. And I'll go to any lengths. Like I've worked my absolute arse off to get where I am now.
And the person who shared it captioned it, "If you're homeless, just buy a house." Basically, he's trying to say that that's what Molly Mae would say. If you watched that whole podcast, you'd know that this isn't even the worst thing she said.
Okay, I watched the whole podcast, and that, first of all, what? I don't think there's anything bad in what she said, and I have not seen anything worse in the whole podcast.
Now, some of the comments and criticism that people have shared about this clip is: worked proper hard, getting SHAGGED on telly, and then brand deals thrown at her. Someone said, has she stood on a site freezing at 7:30 AM in the pea rain, lugging timber about first day back after Christmas? Then how can she say with a straight face that she's worked hard to get to where she is? Someone translate, I don't speak inheritance. This is the problem. PLT gave her £500,000 for her collab, and she assumed that that was based on her hard work and determination. Don't get me started on the figurehead role of a creative director of a £1 billion clothing brand given to her overnight. Oh my god. Worked her A off. She sat on a sun lounger for a couple of weeks on the television. Absolute joke that these people are given such a platform. This is the part that gets me. People never critique her without saying first, I know Molly Mae does work incredibly hard, but she doesn't. She posts about waking up in the middle of the afternoon most days, then just gets Starbucks delivered and lounges around her penthouse watching Netflix. In every vlog where she talks about working hard, the only work she does is having her makeup done and doing a photo shoot for a fast fashion brand. And that isn't to say modelling isn't hard, but she isn't actually a model. She doesn't even do half the grunt work real models have to do. She's never designed anything. Her clothing edits are always just basic pieces other people have put together. She has zero sense of any sort of interesting personal style, but we're supposed to believe she's worked so hard to be creative director, and so far it seems to be a vanity label that consists of her pretending to take notes in her Louis Vuitton day planner. Please. Worked her arse off. Off I go to do my 12-hour shift to put a roof over mine and my son's head. I should have thought of this, but don't think Love Island would accept a 48-year-old, size 14 single mom. It's insane to think I just worked harder and therefore I'm rich. Ignorance at best, arrogance at worst. There is grammar. The grammar's horrible, but okay. There's millions of people in the UK who work harder than her and are struggling financially. And again, to say that during a pandemic with a lot of economic hits, mad. There seems to be what I consider to be a bit of resentment and jealousy at the moment towards influencers, and also towards the fact that she has benefited from the surname of her partner. So she's dating someone called Tommy Fury. I didn't watch Love Island that period, so I don't really know what's going on. She's dating the brother of someone called Tyson Fury, and apparently that family name is well known. In the words of someone, literally, she's leeching off of the name. Now, I think that this shows jealousy and resentment. It shows a lot of envy, and the reason is because she's not the only one to date someone who has helped her social standing. Lots of people are dating someone who is famous or is successful, and what are they supposed to do about it? I don't actually understand. Like, you can say yes, she's benefited off of that, but actually what now? Like, it's kind of a, it doesn't add anything, that statement, in my opinion. It's just a throwaway statement to say, oh, you're only famous because blah blah blah. Well, actually, a lot of people benefit from their social networks, whether it's their biological connections or their social connections. But fundamentally, are you going to tell her to stop dating the guy? Like, is that what you want? So Nietzsche's idea of master versus slave morality is basically the idea that there are masters in society. There are people who control and are at the top of the hierarchy, and for them, they value things that benefit them. So what is good for them is productivity, and what is bad is anything that doesn't further their own advancement. Thus are those who are not in the power position. Because they lack the power to be in the position of the master, their own idea of morality is anything that seeks to tear down what the master has. Half of the people complaining, if they had that opportunity to be attached to the person she's attached to, they would take it. She's dating the guy and it's helped her in her life, and she's admitted that going on Love Island and meeting this guy has helped her. Should she reject everything good that's happened to her because she went on this show? Doesn't really make sense. Another recurring theme among the comments was that Molly Mae is simply capitalizing off of the beauty and the fact that she fits into certain categories, which makes her privileged inherently. So for instance, people were making reference to her ethnicity as well as the fact that she is slimmer. People also referenced her hair colour. And I think this is another conversation. To me, it shows a certain amount of resentment among those who are very aware that other people are able to capitalize off of certain traits that they didn't necessarily have to work hard to get in the first place. Something like beauty is kind of a bit of a lottery. It's something that you do have to work hard to maintain, but people are less comfortable with the idea of someone making a living for themselves based on literally their appearance. It reminds me of something that my mother mentioned to me a couple of days ago, which is that she wanted to make sure that I never forget to utilize the things I'm naturally gifted at. She asked me the question, what would I be doing if I did not have a degree? And this is something that really made me think, like, wow, I have so many innate gifts within me, and if I did not have a degree, I would be making use of a lot of the other things that I am very good at doing naturally. So I think the ideal life would be one where we can capitalize off of the things that we don't necessarily even have to struggle at. There are so many things that many of us are effortlessly gifted at, and we don't even have to try as hard. So the dream is to find those things, and for some people it takes them 60 years, other people might take 20 years to discover that thing. But the dream, I think the goal should be to find those things that come so naturally to us that we can actually commoditize and we can actually extract value out of, because everything that we need in our lives is inside of us. All the talents that are meant to take us far and are meant to help us in life are within us. And so if we can find that out, you realise that for some people it actually is their appearance. That is the thing they were gifted with, that was meant to pave the way for them. For other people, it's their musical abilities, their ability to play certain instruments without much stress and struggle, with plenty of ease, their ability to sing in a particular way that makes them stand out. For other people, it's their gift in mathematics. And so we all have these different things, but I think that there are more likely to be jealous people when it comes to something like beauty, because we see it manifested in physical form, and so we're more likely to be jealous of it, when actually you might have some talents that this woman, Molly Mae, doesn't have, and she might also feel just as resentful. But right now, we live in a climate where beauty is heavily valued, and certain characteristics and traits make people gravitate towards someone. So if that makes you really upset that this woman has been able to make and build a multi-million-pound enterprise off of her beauty, then perhaps we should be directing our frustration towards her fans, because it's her fans who support her. There are so many other people who have gone on Love Island who have not achieved the same amount of success that this woman has. There's clearly something about her that makes people gravitate towards her, and I think it's also important to realise that she's not the only person who has been given a lot of opportunities because of her beauty. A lot of other people have also been given those opportunities, and they haven't created multi-million-pound businesses from just their beauty alone. There are horrible influencers. Yes, they might rise pretty quickly, but they eventually do fall because of their horrible behaviour. So I think that what has sustained her is a mixture of those natural abilities that maybe she's not had to work so hard to attain, but she's definitely doing something to remain in her position. As you guys would know, I lived in Nigeria for quite a little while. Well, actually not that long, but I was young when I lived in Nigeria, and I had a really great life. Like, I had a wonderful life, never wanted for anything. I was daddy's princess. And moving to the UK, some things did transpire, but one thing I never really had was a victim mentality. I don't have that, but for a little while I was sucked and programmed to believe that I was like hard done by in life and in society, and that was when I was at Oxford. And I've been quite transparent with this, but I've not really shared that much. But Oxford for me was kind of like, that was the first time like people were telling me how to think, telling me to see myself as disadvantaged, telling me to never see myself as a victor, and that really destroyed me. I spent the last 4 years on learning that mentality because it nearly ruined me, but I was in a position where I felt a lot of anger and probably resentment towards those who were not in my situation. And I had those moments where I would tell my friend that you know, I am going through XYZ, and then someone else doesn't have to go through this, and they think that they are not as privileged as they are, for instance. And my friend would tell me, like, just because someone, you know, has things that you might desire doesn't mean that they don't have their own struggle. And for a long time, it took me a very long time to understand this, but actually I'm in a position where I really do understand it now. Pain is pain regardless of what situation people are in. You might be in a situation where you've had so many battles, right, and you think you've experienced the worst of the worst and the lowest of the lowest, but actually someone else might feel a loss that doesn't look like yours. Like, you might lose an opportunity, you might lose like a job application for something you really wanted, but on the other hand, someone has lost their mother, someone has lost their father, and so how you're looking at your loss, it doesn't mean that yours is greater than other people's. And that's exactly how I view hard work. It's through the same lens that I view hard work. I believe that there are different ways that people see hard work, and just because something doesn't look hard to you doesn't mean that it's not hard. Some people spend an entire day using their brain power, and it's absolutely exhausting for them. They might work on a computer all day, but they're so tired by the time they're home, whereas other people are working in factories and lifting things physically, and for them they consider that to be harder work. For other people, they might work in industries that are emotionally taxing, and they think that drains them, that takes the most out of them, and they would feel like they're working harder. I watched that video, and she explained just how much effort and how much communication she has to go through with her manager, and all these opportunities and bookings to be at. It might not look like a hard work to those who aren't in her position, but for someone in her position, that is hard work. So I think that there's a very reductionist mindset when it comes to like viewing other people's hard work as not being hard enough as yours. I read a book that I recommend you read. It's called Primates of New York, I believe, and it's just about the kind of work that a lot of housewives put in upper Manhattan, basically an affluent area. And you would think, oh, these women are just housewives, what are they doing, like their husbands are rich. But actually hard work for them looks very different to the kind of hard work you were thinking they were going to be doing. But for these women, hard work looks like attending yoga every morning and exercising and doing Pilates and keeping their body fit, because otherwise they feel like their husbands are going to cheat on them, for instance. Hard work for them looks like networking, making friends with the mums of other children at the school that their children go to, so that they can help their husbands to do deals with the husbands of their friends. Hard work for them looks like decorating the home and sending out invitations for parties so that people of value can come to their home, and it can increase their husband's social and professional profile by giving them more opportunities to have a wider network of friends. Hard work for these women can look like sending out handwritten Christmas cards every festive season to his network. It can look like sending thank you notes, replying to emails promptly, taking calls, managing his diary, managing their own diary, cooking, ordering things online, being the manager of the household, being the CEO. It can look like literally having to run from one appointment to another to take their child for these lessons, then that lessons, and take these classes and that class, literally working their butts off to get their children into the top schools. For the average person who is not a housewife in that situation, you're going to think they're living the dream, but they're working hard, they're just working in a different kind of way. On another side of the planet, there might be housewives whose job it is to clean the floors, and while the housewives in affluent neighborhoods don't have to do that because they've been able to hire a nanny or a maid to help out, a housekeeper, we say maid in Nigeria, so I still say maid a lot, because when we had house cleaners we called them maids in Nigeria as well. But what I was saying is that even though those wives might not have to physically clean the floor, they are doing a lot of work that just looks different. Life is all about managing life force. There is nowhere on planet Earth where you can tell me that no one is working. From a position where I understand what the philosophy of labour is, having studied, shameless plug, but I studied law at the London School of Economics. One of the modules we learned was literally the philosophy of property. In view of Locke, an apple could fall from a tree and it belongs to no one, but the moment where you bend down and you stretch your arm to pick it up now belongs to you because you have performed labour to get it. That is work. So in every way, in every position in life, there is no way that nobody has to work. Even if they're really rich, like let's say someone has inherited a huge amount of money, it's work to make sure that money doesn't go down the drain. That is work. Managing money, that is work. And this reminds me of a quote I saw that Drake made. He said, reward for work is more work. People don't understand that when you reap your success, now you have a whole new set of responsibilities. You actually have to manage that success. You have to manage that that money you've come into, and it can be even harder than. I really don't respect people that try and make it seem like their own idea of work is more superior to other people's idea of work. I am not of that persuasion. Another point of criticism that I think has been very unfair is in how people are twisting this woman's words and saying that she said that everybody has an equal chance. She actually explicitly stated that she understands that she has had many things in her favor that has helped her, and people have different situations family wise, financially, and this is an acknowledgement of the fact that like there are many things in life that are not necessarily in our control, and people like me who think like this don't think the world is fair. And so I think that's a fundamental difference between myself and a lot of the people who are really upset at this video. I don't believe that the world is fair because I've seen and I've lived the unfairness of life. And I think that there comes a moment where you literally, like, it's like a light bulb switches in your head, and I really hope that someone out there, like as many people as possible, experience this light bulb switching moment. In my opinion, the real peak of enlightenment is understanding that the world is actually quite random, but you can do your very best to create as much luck for your future self as possible. That is the philosophy I live on. That is how life has been for a very long time. People win genetic lotteries not by their own doing. I think more in the bigger picture. I think about bloodlines, I think about personal responsibility, and I think about inheritance in a bigger sense of life. I believe that I am the result of a lot of the things that my ancestors have done. I am the result of a lot of the things my ancestors did not do. Yes, she's very lucky to have been born into a family that is stable. People often discount how much work was done before them for them to be able to benefit off of that. I'm in a position where I've actually benefited from a lot of things that my ancestors did, but I'm also in a position where I'm realizing, do you know what, I didn't have this, that and that, so I'm gonna try my very best so that my children will enjoy the benefits that I did not have, because I'm gonna set up this in place so that they will benefit. It's like you think it's about you. You think, oh my god, like I'm living, I'm here right now, and so this is what matters. But actually, if you start thinking ahead, if you start thinking beyond yourself, if you start thinking in the bigger picture, start thinking about the trajectory of your bloodline, you kind of make peace with the fact that you might have lacked something, or you didn't get from life what other people got from their parents, for instance. Because actually, like, I'm of the opinion that, like, you might not come from a rich family, but it doesn't mean that a rich family can't come from you. That's the process of evolution, to be honest. It's the fact that, like, yes, some people are extremely lucky, but you can really try your very best to position yourself in a better position, so that the next generation of your bloodline can continue that which you have improved about your bloodline. For you, it might look like getting rid of genetic disease. You might make sure that whoever you end up creating children with doesn't also have this genetic condition, so that you can get rid of that disease from your bloodline. That is an example of, like, that is an inheritance. Why is it that we are so angry about our inheritance, or the fact that some people inherit certain stability of family, for instance, or they inherit money, but actually we take for granted the things that our ancestors have also given us? Like, I've got an amazing immune system, I'm rarely ever ill, and my grandparents, I don't even want to speak on, I'm not going to speak on my grandparents, but let's just say, like, there are some very great genes in my family, and that's something that we just feel entitled to, but we feel really angry when we see other people who've inherited things that we think should be our right. That's something that I don't know if I'm, like, going kind of off base right now, I'm speaking too metaphorically, but I think that's something we really need to consider when we talk about luck. I watched a video and there was a girl who basically said that pulling yourself from, like, rock bottom is impossible. Use the word impossible. This made me feel so sad for her. It makes me feel sad for those people who think like that, because when I really think about, like, before I went to Oxford, and I was, like, basically literally programmed to believe the opposite of everything I've ever believed. I was raised to believe that if I work for what I want, I will get it. There is a Latin phrase, I will either find a way or I will make one, and I've always believed that. I've landed internships by literally just writing to people, and yes, people might ignore me, loads of people won't care, but there'll be that one person who replies, and bam, that's an opportunity, and that opportunity literally changes my life. That's happened on so many occasions. I can't even like spend time talking about that right now. Fundamental premise of what Molly Mae said is not that we literally all spend our 24 hours the same way, or we don't spend it the same way. She's talking about how we have opportunities in life, especially if you're in the UK. Like, I understand certain aspects about third world countries where they might not have the same opportunity, but in somewhere like the UK there are so many opportunities for people to improve their life. You have to decide which side of the story you're going to be on. Are you going to be the person who was born into a really terrible situation and you decided to stay in that terrible situation? Are you going to be delusional for you to think that you can get out of the situation that other people are telling you is your fate? That is delusional, to think you can change the fate of your bloodline. But guess what? It's the people who are delusional enough to believe that they deserve more who get more. It is the people who are delusional enough to think that they can have more from life who end up having more from life. I'm such a dreamer. I don't know if it's because of my nature, whether it's my star sign, I have no idea what it is, but something about me is an inherent dreamer. I'm so ambitious, and at times I'm like, oh my god, I wish I was content with average, but I fundamentally am not happy. I'm happier chasing my dreams and maybe suffering some setbacks on the way and feeling, you know, pain from failing. I'm more comfortable going through that experience than I am literally never trying, because it hurts even more. Regardless of the amount of failure you might experience while being an ambitious person, it fundamentally hurts even more for you to just be stuck at the bottom. In a country like the UK, there are many opportunities. You can get a loan, you can seek help from charities. There are various business enterprises and charities that exist to give people opportunities. There's government assistance. There's so many like structures in place to help people. I'm definitely not saying that people don't have their own personal issues. Of course people have their own personal issues, but at the end of the day, we have a say. We have a say about how our story is going to end. And I believe that if you have some obstacles in your way, it doesn't mean you can't achieve it. It just might take you longer. If I decided to challenge 5 people to get from West London to North London, but one person's got to stop off at the clinic on their way. One person has a fear of buses, so they can't take buses, they can only walk. They're claustrophobic and they can't be in crowded situations, so they can't take public transport, they're gonna have to walk. Someone else has a car, the fastest car in the world, and so that's how they're going to get there. Another person is going to use a skateboard, but they also have to go home quickly to cook for their nan. The last person, I don't know, maybe they're just like really short and they have short legs, and so they can't walk as fast as anybody else. If I lined those 5 people up, those 5 individuals together, and I said, I need you to meet me, you're in West London right now, I need you to meet me in North London, or I'm asking you to make your way there. They're not going to get there all at the same time. Like, you'd be silly to think they would. One person's got to stop off somewhere at the doctor's for an appointment. Another person is not able to take public transport. The person most likely to get there quickly is the person who has that fast car. But at the end of the day, if the other people don't give up, they will still arrive at that destination. They will arrive at their desired destination if they keep on going. That is how I interpreted what Molly Mae had to say. I interpreted it in the sense that you might not all arrive at the same time. One person might be quicker than the other, but it doesn't mean you're doomed. It might take you 3 hours to get there instead of 1 hour. It might take you 2 days to get there. You literally might go off on a detour. One person might fall asleep on the journey and forget where they're going and have to wake up and start going again. It doesn't mean that you can't get there at the end. Have a sense of ambition. If you have the guts to reach out to that person, if you have the guts to believe that you can do whatever it is that you wanted to do, you will achieve. I watched a video wherein Molly Mae Hague was described as being classist, and I honestly don't see how that's classist. But to tell people that they can make it in life, how is that classist? What is classist to me is to go to someone who is poor, go to someone who is from a working class background, and to tell them you are nothing but the situation you were born into. You will never achieve success. Like, what is classist? Like, honestly, think about it. Which is more classist? For you to tell someone that they're doomed and their fate is literally gonna be the situation they're born in, or to tell them that they have an opportunity and to tell them to believe in themselves. The world we live in is just so absolutely crazy. I honestly cannot believe that this is where we are today. I want to challenge you, whoever's listening to this, like, if you're really like that angry with Molly Mae, I challenge you to live the next 6 years of your life believing that society is against you, all the structures are against you. Let me know how that goes. Honestly, let me know how much you achieve when you have that mentality. I'd love to see an experiment where a group of people are literally told that they can't achieve anything, and another group of people from an exact same background are told that they can achieve whatever they want. Give them 6 years and then bring them back, and we'll see who's made progress in life. Because I'm pretty sure it's not going to be those who thought that they were doomed who will make progress in life, even if they came from the exact same situation as someone who wasn't told that they are doomed. And I wasn't told that I was doomed when I was young, and I was never told that like my skin colour or my background was ever going to hinder me. And it wasn't until Oxford that I started hearing those kind of things. Like, even though I took part in some programs, there were loads of social mobility programs, and a lot of them don't operate off of the premise that like their candidates are inherently disadvantaged. There are ways to acknowledge the nuances in society. Like, again, like I said, I think society is not gonna ever be fair, but that's just life. Like, life is random. There are things that happen to people who don't deserve it, but fundamentally we're trying to create the best luck we can. Try to create the best luck we can for the future, because success for me is opportunity and preparation. That is success. You will strike gold at some point. Your gold might look different to somebody else's, but at the end of the day, you've done what you can for you to strike what is a big win for someone in your situation versus what is a big win for someone who might not have had to you know, literally walk on their feet because they had a car. But it doesn't mean that you won't also get to that position where you want to be in life if you believe in yourself. And there are so many routes to success. There are people who have achieved a lot more than this woman without like going on Love Island. So there's not just one key to success, there's lots of different keys to success. There is a space to talk about inequality, but I also think it would probably help if people were to widen their horizons, broaden their viewpoint of the world, and actually leave the UK, because people must really think that inequality is like a UK phenomenon or a Western phenomenon. There is so much inequality in so many other countries. I say this as a Nigerian. One of my uncles achieved so much success in his life. He was worth millions, Great British pound millions, like several millions in his life. And this man grew up so poor in Nigeria. He didn't even have proper shoes to school. This man worked so hard and he had to take loans from all different kinds of people, but he eventually achieved such success. Like, maybe it's because I've been surrounded by success stories and because I've read a lot about other people's lives. I too have also adopted that mentality where I am actually delusional enough to think that what is ahead of me is far greater than what has been behind me. I don't think she said that like people who are poor don't work as hard as her. That's not what she said. So I don't think she deserves that criticism. I'm going to leave on this note, and like I said, if I cared about being liked, I would not be making this video. So the fact that you're watching this video can only mean one thing. So yeah, thanks for watching, thanks for making it all the way to the end of this video. I'll be back, bye!